Through three games so far this season, Patrick Williams, to the eye of the basketball watchers, have looked a little bit different to where he's been more aggressive, more involved, and much, much better for the Chicago Bulls. But is this aggressive Patrick Williams here to stay, or is it simply too early to call? We gonna talk about it. And then the Chicago Bulls face off versus the Sacramento Kings with DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine returning. Y'all know we gonna talk about it, break it all down, but you gotta hit the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Boys podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, love talking Chicago Bulls basketball, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, man. But hey, is Patrick Williams turning a corner? Are we starting to feel a little bit different about Patrick Williams? I know there's been some people that have been riding for Patrick Williams for a while now, despite many of us feeling like, man, what's the point with Patrick Williams? One of my guys that's a frequent listener and a viewer and a supporter of Patrick Williams, my man's TBO. He always telling us to watch out for P. Willie. And for the first three games, I'm not even gonna hold you. P. Willie or Patrick Williams, as he's known by, he's been a different type of basketball player for the Chicago Bulls. So let me know down below how you feeling. Is this Patrick Williams here to stay, or do you simply just need a little bit more time before you go out there and say this aggressive Patrick Williams is here to stay? If we remember over the offseason, Patrick Williams was one of those guys that said he looked into the mirror, understood that he had to get more healthy, and then really took action behind those words. He went to work. He lost some weight. He worked on his game. And now it's looking like it's starting to translate on the basketball court. Through three games so far, Patrick Williams has given us his typical 9 points and 4 rebounds. C-Dub had the point that if he is to move on the bench and remain on the bench, a bench player coming in and giving you 9 points and 4 rebounds typically is viewed as a good bench player. And I know that there has been some discussions about Patrick Williams being the 4th overall pick in his respective draft, and that, the expectation should be higher for him. But that is not the case right now for him and the Chicago Bulls. He's now on the bench, a place to where he came off of coming out of college, and he looks to be more comfortable in this position. And over the offseason, once the season last year concluded, the front office held Patrick Williams accountable, in my personal opinion, by simply saying that Patrick Williams did not live up to the expectations that was placed on him for the 2024-25 season. And now Patrick Williams, while averaging 9 points and 4 rebounds, is shooting 55% from the field and 36% from the three, while averaging a steal a game and almost 1 block per game, which is really, really good. Other notable things is Patrick Williams' defense looks like it has returned to that space to where we once thought it would be. And it is not to say that Patrick Williams fell off tremendously last year. It just wasn't as effective as we thought it should have been. And up until this point, through 3 games, small sample size here, Patrick Williams' defensive rating is 100. If you know how that all works, the lower the number, the better that player is. And while playing 22 minutes per game so far, at least that's the average for him, that's pretty damn good for a guy like Patrick Williams. So is it too soon to call? I will say yes, it is too soon to call. But I love what I'm seeing. I like to evaluate players with a nice sample size. I don't go off one game or a couple games, in this case 3 games, to go out there and say that a guy has completely turned it around. But I love what I'm seeing out of Patrick Williams. The defense has been better. We just talked about that. We're averaging a steal per game and almost a full block per game. The offense is looking much better. Patrick Williams is being more decisive with what he wants to do once the ball touches his hand. And we're seeing him cut to the basket. We're seeing him drive to the basket and not always lose the basketball. We do see some moments to where Patrick Williams does have his mess ups, but there are plenty of players, even some of the greatest players, that have made mistakes on the basketball court. But I will say for Patrick Williams, the good is outweighing the bad thus far. So you have to show him some love in that regard. I'm hoping this is something that is here to stay for Patrick Williams. And I'm hoping that once guys start to return as the season goes on, that Patrick Williams, whether he scores his average 9 points and gets 4 rebounds per game, he still remains aggressive, even if he goes out there and has a 4 point game or a 2 point game or just goes scoreless in one game. I think what helps the team is that Patrick Williams, I think what will help the team is if Patrick Williams remains aggressive the entire season to help this Chicago Bulls team. Because right now, some people are taking notice, but there are still some people that are not believers in this team, and rightfully so. I think that when you go off a 3 game sample size, some people will whiff at it or not pay much attention to it. But I think that we should be paying more attention to it and wanting to see more from this Chicago Bulls team so we can get a full understanding of what we're looking at or what team we are going to get for the remainder of the season, because there is a lot of basketball to be played for the 2025-26 NBA season for the Chicago Bulls. One interesting thing that I really picked up on, outside of the defense, outside of the offense, is that Billy Donovan has trust Patrick Williams to play small ball center in 2 of the last 3 games. We're talking about the Orlando game, and we're talking about our most recent game. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's a huge sign of trust to me. And I also seen Patrick Williams take smaller defenders, back them down, and go and get buckets. I think that matchup will be there all season long for Patrick Williams. Now, there will be some adjustments that will be made to where some teams are going to say when he goes ahead and back down a defender, we're going to double him and force him to make a decision. Obviously, you want to see Patrick Williams grow in that regard, and then we'll be able to see how he's handling that. But I think that at least for the moment, we should be able to appreciate what we're seeing from Patrick Williams and still be able to say, hey, let's make sure we keep it up, because this team needs all hands on deck to go out there and make a good impression on the basketball court, not just for the fans' sake, but for your own sake, and to grab some attention from others around the league that you're taking this season very seriously. And if they come into the United Center, or when the Chicago Bulls travel to another state, or hell, another country, if you're paying Toronto, the Bulls are going to come out to play. I think that's the most important thing. So I'm not ready to say that this iteration of Patrick Williams is here to stay, but I am saying I am loving what I'm seeing out of Patrick Williams, and I hope that he can keep it up, and we'll see what happens. The Chicago Bulls have a matchup versus the Sacramento Kings tonight, and gonna be a very interesting game, to say the least. So y'all let me know how y'all feeling about Patrick Williams. Do you believe this Patrick Williams is here to stay, or would you like to see a little bit more before you come to a conclusion where you can comment on that question? But hey, while we're talking about the matchup versus the Sacramento Kings, we're talking about Zach Lavine returning, DeMar DeRozan returning to the United Center. And man, I ain't gonna hold you. It was hard to see 2 of these players leave out of the organization, but it was very well needed. A new team was needed in Chicago, simply because what we thought we were getting when DeMar DeRozan first showed up alongside Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball, we did not necessarily get that. And once the team had ran its course, because I absolutely felt like it did, it was time to pivot. And we seen that pivot last year. Did not have a great start to the season. Zach Lavine was still here. Josh Giddey was still trying to figure things out. Kobe White wasn't necessarily the Kobe White that we seen after the All-Star break. So, now we come into this season and looking at the Chicago Bulls like, hey, can this team potentially surprise some people? And right now we're looking at the Sacramento Kings, who have Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook, Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine, and a couple other players like Malik Monk, who are going to come to United Center off of a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, to where they simply just let the game go. And I'm not even going to hold you. Watching that game, Russell Westbrook took a bad shot at the end of the game. And once you are playing the champions of this league, who have done it and still has most of their team intact, if not all of their team intact, it's going to be hard to beat that team. So you should expect the Sacramento Kings to come into Chicago with a little bit of, of a sour taste in their mouth. Like, man, we let one go. Let's go out here and hoop versus these young Bulls and see what we could potentially do. So I think that the Chicago Bulls, the way that they should approach this game is, we're going to get out on a run. We're going to play hard defense, and we're going to do it by committee like we've been doing it thus far this season. There are teams that are 4-0 on the season that's in the Eastern Conference, like the Philadelphia Sixers. There are teams that we're going to have to play in the Western Conference who has some talent on their team, who not necessarily may not be at the top of the Western Conference, but are going to be tough matchups for the Chicago Bulls. And this is an opportunity for the Chicago Bulls to stack more wins. It is not going to be easy. I think that a team can be beaten on any given night if you take them lightly. So I look at this opportunity for the Chicago Bulls as one that they can take advantage of. You know what I'm saying? Simply because we know that Zach Lavine can go off. We know that DeMar DeRozan can go out there and get to the foul line at crazy rate, at a crazy rate. We know that Domantas Sabonis is a really good center. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the Chicago Bulls need to come ready to play. I think that they do not have to pivot off what they've been doing this entire season thus far. Obviously, there's going to be some game planning involved. There's going to be some adjustments that have to be made. But I think that the Chicago Bulls need to continue to spread the ball, make good shots, take good shots, and attack the basket, all while still being defensively sound on the other end of the court, especially considering how Zach Lavine can really, really go off. And I don't understand why the Sacramento Kings went away from Zach Lavine. It just seems like that's one of the things to when Zach Lavine is on the team. Yeah, I swear it does. You look at Zach Lavine, he starts to get on a heater, and then his teammates just pretty much ice him. You know what I'm saying? Like, feed the hot hand. Zach Lavine is getting hot, and that happened while he was with the Bulls, and that is happening while he's in Sacramento as well. I don't know what Zach Lavine did to the NBA gods. I don't know. Maybe he came back too good after that, that knee injury. I don't know. I don't want to make crazy assumptions, but man, it's some crazy reason that once Zach Lavine is starting to get hot, either his coach is icing him or his own teammates are icing him. And that's simply what happened last night. So I would imagine that Zach Lavine will want to stick it to the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, I think he'll be appreciative for the time in Chicago. But what competitor that don't want to go back to their old stomping grounds and beat the crap out of their old team? That's just what's on their mind. And I'm pretty sure DeMar DeRozan, with a bunch of his young guys that he took under his wing, Dalen Terry, Patrick Williams, worked out with Ayo Dosunmu, and then they see this young kid in Montes Buzelis. They want to probably show him something. You never know, So I think it's all interesting, and it should be a very, very fun game, man. I think that, hey, as long as we go out there and take care of business, we should give ourselves a good opportunity to win this game. And y'all make sure y'all be there for the live call. C-Dub and the fellas will be live. I got other things to tend to, but I'll still be present for the post game. Might pop into the live call briefly, but still got to take care of some other things on my end. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shy Bulls Podcast. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. Let me know who you think will win this basketball game versus the Sacramento Kings. What chances are you giving the Chicago Bulls to come out and start their season 4-0. 4-0. That's what we going for. We going for 4-0, man. We got to see what's to it. But hey, I appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all always see red. And y'all already know we gonna catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace out, y'all.
Cognac. Gang.